Welcome to Live Economic News, your go-to destination for real-time updates and in-depth analysis of the ever-changing global economy. In this fast-paced world of finance and markets, staying informed is key, and we're here to ensure you're always ahead of the curve. Join us as we navigate the world of economics, explore market trends, and unravel the stories behind the numbers. Let's embark on this enlightening journey together, where knowledge meets opportunity, right here on Live Economic News. The rise of antibiotic resistance represents a daunting challenge to the effectiveness of existing antibiotic treatments and their prescribed routines. This predicament is not confined to medical realms alone. It extends its tendrils into social, economic, and anthropogenic spheres, creating a complex web of problems. This comprehensive review delves into the global economic repercussions of antibiotic resistance, drawing from a wealth of published research and reports from both national and international organizations. The impact of this resistance is nothing short of catastrophic, touching various facets of society, from patients and healthcare providers to researchers, pharmaceutical companies, healthcare businesses, and policymakers at national and international levels. Alarmingly, low resource settings face an even greater risk, with the specter of a medical poverty trap looming large, underscoring the urgency of addressing this multifaceted crisis. The landscape of antibacterial consumption has undergone a significant shift globally in the past decade. In the year 2000, countries with the highest rates of antibiotic consumption included economically developed nations like the United States, France, Spain, New Zealand, and Hong Kong. However, by 2015, there was a notable change, with 4 of the countries with the highest antibiotic consumption rates being low to middle-income countries such as Turkey, Tunisia, Algeria, and Romania. Despite this shift, it's important to note that the antibiotic consumption rate in these low to middle-income countries still remains lower than that in high-income countries. This difference can be attributed to the continuous increase in income levels and living standards in these nations. However, the concern lies in the future trajectory. The trend suggests that the rate of antibiotic consumption in low to middle-income countries is on the rise. As these nations continue to experience economic growth and improvements in living standards, it is highly likely that their antibiotic consumption rates might eventually converge with or even surpass those in developed countries. This convergence could lead to several challenges, including the increased risk of antibiotic resistance due to higher consumption rates. Consequently, it emphasizes the urgent need for global initiatives to monitor and regulate antibiotic usage, ensuring that this vital medical resource is preserved and used judiciously to mitigate the growing threat of antibiotic resistance worldwide. The economic repercussions of antimicrobial resistance, AMR, extend far beyond mere monetary costs, encompassing a spectrum of social and labor-related consequences. In the short term, hospitals face substantial financial burdens attributable to increased costs in managing antibiotic-resistant infections. These expenses include not only the direct costs of specialized treatments and medications, but also the indirect costs associated with extended hospital stays, additional tests, and the deployment of more advanced medical resources. The long-term economic impact is even more profound, with effects rippling through society. This staggering statistic emphasizes the urgent need for comprehensive strategies to combat AMR. Additionally, the World Bank's 2014 report sheds light on the expenditure gaps within healthcare systems and related infrastructure, underlining the strain AMR places on healthcare budgets and the subsequent challenges faced by nations in maintaining effective healthcare services. These reports collectively underscore the critical importance of investing in research, public health initiatives, and healthcare infrastructure to mitigate the multifaceted and far-reaching economic impacts of antimicrobial resistance on both a national and global scale. Addressing these challenges is essential not only for preserving public health, but also for sustaining economic stability and growth in the face of this growing global threat. In economic terms, antibiotic resistance represents a negative externality, meaning it imposes undesirable effects on individuals beyond the immediate antibiotic user. This external cost is both cross-sectional and temporal. Cross-sectional because it impacts not just the person taking the antibiotic, but also multiple others in the community. For instance, when antibiotic resistance develops in one person, it can spread to others, affecting their ability to benefit from antibiotics when needed. Additionally, This cost is temporal because the consequences of antibiotic resistance become evident over time, impacting not just the wider community, but also the individual who initially consumed the antibiotic. This economic concept becomes particularly alarming when considering the vulnerable populations in underdeveloped and developing nations. Among the poor, illiterate, and uninformed segments of these societies, the risk of falling into a medical poverty trap is significantly higher. These populations often have limited access to healthcare resources and may lack the awareness or education to understand the implications of antibiotic misuse or resistance. Consequently, when antibiotics become ineffective due to resistance, these marginalized individuals and communities bear the brunt of the consequences. They face increased healthcare costs, prolonged illnesses, and a higher likelihood of falling into poverty due to the financial strain caused by repeated or extended medical treatments. In essence, antibiotic resistance not only presents a current economic challenge due to its external costs, but also perpetuates a cycle of poverty and ill health, especially among those who can afford it the least. Addressing antibiotic resistance is not just a matter of healthcare policy, it's a crucial step toward alleviating economic disparities and ensuring the well-being of vulnerable populations around the world. Global economic paradigms. The World Bank defines countries based on income as high, upper middle, lower middle, and low-income countries based on their gross national income, GNI. For the year 2016, high-income countries were defined as those with a GNI per capita of $12 476 or more, and low-income countries as those with a GNI per capita of $1,025 or less 10. Therefore, the risk of medical poverty trap is highly aggravated in low-resource settings, thus placing vulnerable communities in a generational poverty. In the USA in March 2015, the Presidential Advisory Council on Combating Antibiotic-Resistant Bacteria was established. The role was to help develop and implement the national strategy for combating antibiotic-resistant bacteria. Impact of antibiotic use in animals. Antibiotics are an important resource for treating and curing disease cases of medical importance. Similarly, they are used in animals and livestock to treat diseases and are also administered prophylactically to prevent the occurrence of diseases in animal populations. Non-judicious use of antibiotics, or sometimes incomplete regimens, cause resistant microbes to survive due to a sublethal dose of the medicine. This is the main cause of drug-induced resistance. This resistance spreads to humans. By 2050, drug-resistant infections could cause global economic damage on par with 2008 financial crisis. The data indicates that such a scenario could lead to a loss of more than 5% of their gross domestic product, GDP. This economic setback, in turn, could have dire consequences for the population, pushing up to 28 million people, primarily residing in developing countries, into poverty by the year 2050. This not only highlights the profound economic impact of AMR, but also underscores the urgent need for concerted international efforts to address this growing threat. Failure to do so not only jeopardizes the economic stability of nations, but also exacerbates global inequalities, emphasizing the critical importance of implementing effective strategies to combat antimicrobial resistance on a global scale. Impact on GDP. The impact of antimicrobial resistance, AMR, on the global economy, as projected for the year 2050, is alarming. If measures to mitigate AMR are not effectively implemented, the consequences could be dire. According to estimates, in a low-impact scenario where AMR is not aggressively addressed, the annual global gross domestic product, GDP, would decline by 1.1%. However, in a high-impact scenario where AMR continues to rise unchecked, the GDP could plummet by a significant 3.8%. This decline in economic output signifies a weakened global economy, affecting various sectors and livelihoods. What is particularly concerning is the disproportionate impact on low-income countries. These nations would bear the brunt of AMR, experiencing even larger economic losses every year leading up to 2050. In the high-impact scenario, the loss could exceed 5% of their GDP by 2050. Such economic setbacks highlight the urgency of addressing AMR comprehensively, not only as a health crisis, but also as an economic imperative to safeguard the stability and prosperity of nations worldwide. Impact on global poverty. The consequences of antimicrobial resistance, AMR, on global poverty are deeply concerning, posing a significant threat to the progress made in alleviating extreme poverty. In the high-impact AMR scenario, a staggering 28.3 million people would fall into extreme poverty by 2050. What makes this situation even more alarming is that the vast majority of these individuals, approximately 26.2 million, would reside in low-income countries. As of now, the world has been moving steadily towards the goal of eliminating extreme poverty, defined as living on less than $1.90 per day by 2030. Significant strides have been made, with less than 3% of the global population living in extreme poverty, nearing the target. However, the looming threat of AMR jeopardizes these achievements. The rise in extreme poverty due to AMR could push the goal of eradicating extreme poverty further out of reach. This not only emphasizes the urgent need to address AMR comprehensively, but also underscores the importance of global collaboration to protect vulnerable populations and ensure that efforts to eradicate extreme poverty remain effective and on track. Impact on world trade. The projected impact of antimicrobial resistance, AMR, on world trade in 2050 paints a grim picture for the global economy. According to estimates, if AMR is not effectively managed, the volume of global real exports could decline significantly. In the low-case scenario, where AMR is somewhat contained but not eradicated, the shrinkage in global real exports would amount to 1.1%. However, in the high-case scenario, where AMR continues to escalate unchecked, the decline in global real exports would be much more severe, reaching 3.8%. This reduction in trade volume signifies a weakened international trade system, with consequences that ripple across various industries and economies. It underscores the urgent need for global collaboration and strategic planning to address AMR comprehensively, not only as a public health crisis, but also as an economic imperative to safeguard the stability and growth of global trade networks. Failure to do so could lead to significant disruptions in the interconnected web of international trade, impacting economies worldwide. Impact on livestock output. The prospective impact of antimicrobial resistance, AMR, on global livestock production by 2050 is deeply concerning. Estimates suggest that the decline in livestock output could be substantial, ranging from a minimum decrease of 2.6% to a maximum of 7.5% per year. This decline would have multifaceted repercussions on agriculture, food supply chains, and economies worldwide. Livestock farming plays a pivotal role in the global economy, providing food, income, and employment to millions of people. Such a significant reduction in production could lead to increased food prices, reduced access to essential protein sources, and economic hardships for farmers and related industries. Moreover, it might exacerbate issues related to food security and nutrition, particularly in vulnerable regions. Addressing AMR in the context of livestock production is thus crucial not only for safeguarding global food supplies, but also for ensuring the economic stability and well-being of communities dependent on the livestock industry. Urgent, coordinated efforts are essential to mitigate these potential impacts and to secure the future of sustainable and reliable food production. Impact on healthcare costs. The anticipated impact of antimicrobial resistance on healthcare costs is staggering, with projections indicating a significant rise in expenses on a global scale. By 2050, these costs could escalate dramatically, ranging from $300 billion to an alarming figure exceeding $1 trillion annually. This increase in healthcare expenditure stems from various factors, including the need for more expensive and prolonged treatments, additional hospitalizations, and heightened demand for specialized medical interventions. AMR not only challenges the efficacy of existing antibiotics, but also necessitates the development of new drugs and therapies, which often come with substantial research and development costs. Such a financial burden on healthcare systems worldwide poses a serious threat, particularly for low and middle-income countries where resources are already strained. The escalating costs could compromise the quality of healthcare services, hinder access to essential treatments, and strain national budgets. Addressing AMR comprehensively is not only crucial for public health, but also for ensuring the financial sustainability of healthcare systems globally. Investment in research, development of alternative treatments, and implementation of robust antimicrobial stewardship programs are essential to mitigate the economic impact of AMR on healthcare costs. In wrapping up our discussion on antibiotic resistance, it's evident that this issue extends far beyond the confines of medicine, touching our economies, societies, and the overall well-being of our planet. As we delve deeper into the complexities of this challenge, we invite you, our viewers, to be a part of this vital conversation. What steps do you believe individuals, communities, and nations should take to combat antibiotic resistance effectively? How can we raise awareness and foster change on a global scale? Your thoughts matter, and your ideas could spark innovative solutions. Join us in the comments below and share your insights. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the notification bell. Thank you for being part of our community and helping us raise awareness about important global issues.